people don't fear change. What they fear is loss, the loss of control. This AI coming out, is it going to take my job? Is it smarter than me?
Hey, it's Nikki Llewellyn Gregory, and you're on Gut Plus Science. You're in for a fast-paced, storytelling, action item-rich leadership growth experience. I hope you make this podcast a habit. I consider it a leadership mentoring tool. Learning together makes us better together, and that is how we change the world around us. Let's get to it.
Welcome back to Gut Plus Science, you guys. I am pumped to have my friend Regent Cornell with me on Gut Plus Science today. Regent, this is a long time coming. Last time we were in the studio live in Madison, Wisconsin with CultureCon.
Absolutely.
Completely different topic, talking kind of some different business stuff, right? And today we're talking some really important stuff,
Yeah,
like really important.
I agree.
And guess what, you guys? It is AI. Yes, AI is super exciting and scary and valuable. And here's the deal. Change management is at the core. It's the core of what we need. And that's what we're diving into today with Regent. AI may be transforming the workplace, but technology has never been the hardest part of the change. The people are. And today's guest, my friend, Regent Cornell, a leadership expert, executive advisor, and someone who has spent decades helping organizations navigate transformation, improve execution, and build stronger cultures. As AI reshapes how we work, Regent believes that the leaders who succeed won't be the ones who simply adopt new tools. They're the ones who know how to preserve trust, accountability, communication, human connection, all the way along. Today, we're talking about why AI initiatives fail, how leaders can create real buy in during times of uncertainty that we're all experiencing, what should never be outsourced in technology, and how organizations can embrace innovation, how fun, innovation, without sacrificing humanity. So, this is timely, it's so important. Today, we are talking about AI without losing our humanity, leading through AI change without breaking the culture. So, Regent, I am so excited that you're here today. What are you seeing right now in organizations when it comes to AI adoption?
Yeah, so it can swing on both sides of the pendulum. People are really, really excited about it, and you have some people who are really cautious and scared. So you have those people who are really early adopters. You've got organizations that see the efficiency in it. You've got people who work in those organizations that are happy to bring AI in. They played around enough with it to maybe be a little curious and sometimes even dangerous. But I think what we're finding is organizations are now having to really take notice around AI because there are problems that occur with AI. And I want to talk about that today. AI is great. It's great to have a personal assistant. I love going out to Chat GPT and Meta and Copilot and Claude and all of those. And it's amazing how fast it works. But what's very interesting is the data that we're extracting out of it sometimes and what we're putting in. Private information of organizations, I think people are scared about the confidentiality because you're putting it in a database system. You're putting information in. Where does that information live? Where does it get stored? Is there security around that information? Are we passing around secrets in Claude and AI that we shouldn't be from an organizational standpoint? And while we can dig really quick and find out a plethora of information, sometimes that information is not always correct. I talked to somebody recently and they put a great big sales dossier together only to find out later that they trusted AI when they shouldn't have, and it provided wrong and false data. That false data was given out to senior leaders and executives inside of the organization. And then they believe it to be true because AI is supposed to be very, very smart. And it is. It's artificial intelligence. And we watch the news and we see how smart it is. But what we're finding is people aren't governing their systems. And I use that word governing their systems because we believe it to be true and sometimes it's not. I'll share something with you that happened to me in my early adoption of AI too. I literally was doing an interview for somebody and went out and I was researching this individual. It's a known star in our society, and I got to interview this person, and I went out and I looked a whole bunch of stuff up on the internet through AI. And so I was asking about marriage and children, and they're like, "I'm not married." And I was thinking, thank goodness this is a pre-recorded session because I had false information on this person. He was like, "What are you talking about? I'm not even married." And I was like, "That's what AI said." And he goes, "You can't believe everything on AI." And yet I had.
Wow. Well, can I tell you just real quick my AI rant?
Yes.
Okay. We must have AI workplace training. Like where people are like, "You know what? We are launching this new program and here's your subscription and have at it," right? There is statistics out there. I'm a data nerd, gut plus science. The science is the data, the gut is the heart and the soul of like being a good leader and caring and all this. And we've got to have that data. And I will tell you, like, some of these statistics on the amount of workers, depending on what generation you're in, is very interesting, that are really scared of some of these platforms. And, we assume, oh, they're using it to do their cooking. They're using it, whatever, to figure out how to plan their child's play dates or whatever that is. And we are assuming, and we need to make sure that we are doing AI workplace training and change management. No, you guys do so much training and we're going to talk about fears today, but I just want to say that. But something that I think is really important, I want to hear from you, is why does this moment feel very different from previous waves of workplace change?
Well, because it's happening at an unprecedented pace. It's the wild west of AI. I mean, people don't know what to do. There are no rules. If you look, I think that's what's really scary for me. People don't know. There's not great information of how to implement it. You hear people saying it. People believe themselves to be gurus of implementation. You go and get a certification, and now all of a sudden we've got an AI certified person. But how certified are they, and how deep does it go? I think it's just it's very scary to me for the unknown and the power behind that system. When we just saw on the news not very long ago what Claude did. Did you hear about Mythos? I mean, did you listen to that interview that they had on TV? I was just awestruck by watching Good Morning America and listening at how this system broke through firewalls and really kind of sent a little curt email out to the developer saying, "Don't put me in a firewall again," and had almost like a blackmail behavior behind it. And it's so powerful that Mythos is so powerful that the creator of Mythos said, "We can't release this to the public." And so when I think about that, it's really scary to me that there's that power that's at our fingertips inside of organizations where confidentiality data lies. Think about this around healthcare or where there's private data that lives. How far away are we from an AI system hacking deeper? And I know that that sounds whack, right? It sounds absolutely crazy, but this is the sci-fi things that we see in movies that come back and are real to us, and we see it happening around us. It's taking place. So I think that's what scares me. I think it's also what is the truth anymore? When you go out and you talk with I love watching. There's a gentleman that's on TikTok and he goes out and asks Claude all kinds of questions. And so the gentleman asked, he said, "What is going to be the fall of our world today as we know it?" And so he put in, fall of Roman times, and AI responded back to him what took place. And he said, "So what would be the fall of American society today or world society today?" And AI said AI. And he said, because and I said he, she, them, they, AI. I don't know their pronouns, but they said back that because you won't know what's real. And this came from AI. And so when you watch that level in conversations, in studies, in news reports, where does human end and where does AI begin, or vice versa? And how do you know?
Yeah, we're gonna get right into this human factor. That's where we're going. I want to say, I'm feeling like, we got some big red warning signs here, and rightly so. AI can be so fun. Our, assistants that are helping us be more timely. Like we're all going for Tim Ferriss's book, the 4-hour work week, right? It's like, absolutely. But We also have to take it really seriously. I know we're going to circle back on fierce pulse governance here in just a little bit. You mentioned people are starting to lose the human factor in communication, and AI is somewhat at the core of this. What are you seeing there?
Well, I think it all starts with these and our computers, and I think that we are distancing ourselves. I think that we were already on a trajectory of social awkwardness because we text now, and we don't have conversations like you and I are having right now. I have friends who say, just text me, don't call me. And so when we start to do that, and then we add in AI into it, where AI can create a beautiful email for you. You tell it what's to say, and it creates this email, and it sends it, to you for you to preview. We're sending emails out. We're sending documents out because it's so much quicker for us to be able to do that. We will put it together, and off it goes. And sometimes it's verified, and sometimes it's not verified. But what we're talking about is the human connection that you and I are having right now today. Our listeners are listening in. That's a connection that you're not getting through an email or a text message, or, a large ton of information that is given to you. And I think that people are becoming even more socially awkward when it comes to that in the work relationship, because they'll have AI do it, put it together. We see people that put AI videos together. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with having an AI video. I think that there is a place and time for everything, and we need to embrace some change. It is going to happen. So I've seen really great AI training sessions that have been, from an AI bot, but I also know it's AI. And I also miss the communication of being able to ask a question and talk back with other people from the sense of tribalness. We're tribal beings, and we need that. And so I think that the further that we distance ourselves from that, the more awkward we become, and it becomes harder to communicate. Fierce conversation says that the conversation is the relationship. And so when we're letting other things have conversations for us, text messages, or it just comes through as a cold email on a change initiative that we're doing, or a project that we own, where do we have the connection? Where do I build trust with you? Where do I build emotional intelligence with you? That's where AI is lacking. And I think that, you can see a bot smile or something like that, but you're like, is that a you're a bot? Where is that connection to the heart, gut, and mind? And I think that that's the only thing that, humans to humans have. It's not a human to bot. I don't think that that will ever be that. I could be wrong, but right now it doesn't feel that way. How do you connect at a human level?
Totally. Let's go into the real deal workplace, the where you could really be yourself, the authenticity, right? How do we preserve authenticity in this, AI assisted workplace we're in now?
I think by being aware. I think that's what we do at Fierce Conversations is we bring awareness to leadership and employees to be always be mindful of your culture. We've done that since the beginning of Fierce Conversations. We're celebrating 25 years this year of success and leadership, learning and delivery. So we always say stay intentional. And that's part of fierce is what's being said. I love one of the quotes from Susan Scott, and she writes it in her book. Lovely, lovely book. She says, what's being said or what's not being said is what's being done or not being done inside of your organization. And when you think about that from an organization and a personal life too, both of these kind of coincide. I think it's important for us to see that we need to be intentional more so than ever. We're still in charge. This still is a choice to have a conversation. And I think just making the time and effort to pick up the phone, to have a conversation, to not send a text message, and to be willing to speak with somebody.
So good. So when we talk about change management and leadership, okay? So leading through the change. You were sharing some of this, but I want to get into more of this nitty gritty on why do so many organizational change initiatives in general not get traction at all or lose momentum?
Well, I feel personally, and we see a lot of this at Fierce Conversations with our portfolio of customers that we work with, is that there's just lack of communication. It's lack of communication and clarity. We send out a vague email about a change initiative that goes down. We look at something and put a bunch of buzzwords in it from a very high level. The change that's going to be implemented is going to save us this on EBITDA and blah, 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 and this and that. And we talk language that people don't understand. And then we want people to execute and act on it. And then that message gets passed down to senior, from senior leadership to mid management. Mid management takes it and passes it on down, to the people who are executing it, the individual contributors. And we wonder why we come back out of elegant rooms that we've been in when we've whiteboarded and structured on whiteboards and strategy and how we're going to get there, but we don't think about the communication and the activation of it. So then we find ourselves 3 weeks later, a month later, back in the same room with what I call the negative power of reworking, re-talking about it, restructuring, redoing this when we could have executed it really clearly. I think what people want to see is the communication and the understanding, the conversation. I think what's important for the organization needs to be a part of it, but I also want to be very clear with you and also our leaders when it comes to change, and even when we're being asked to do change at work, people want to know what's in it for them. I think that sometimes we need to be honest if it's not sometimes, I think we need to be honest when there's really not a whiffum for the employee. And sometimes that's it. The whiffum is for the what's in it for me is for our customers. You may not necessarily feel it or feel it right away. People don't fear change. We see change is good. Change from, having these cell phones. And when we used to think that a razor phone was the hot deal to have, I remember those. And so change is great. People don't fear change. What they fear is loss, the loss of control. This AI coming out, is it going to take my job? Is it smarter than me? Am I got going to be the subject matter expertise anymore? I joke around and I say, I've never seen anybody run back to 7-Eleven with a winning lottery ticket saying, take this back. It's too much change. But if you take $5 out of their bank account, they're like, I've lost something and it's immediate. I think change is something that we all know happens. But man, in the world today, was in a class yesterday with a wonderful group of leaders. And I had a woman say to me, she's like, I have to really tell you, I'm just change exhausted. I am change exhausted, Regent. And she goes, and I know my people are. She goes, we don't even get through the end of one change. And we're talking about what's the next change that's going to take place. And she goes, and it never feels like that we get a chance to breathe. And her comment to me really stuck out because she said, we constantly talk about faster, higher, stronger, work faster, more with less, right? You hear that all the time. It's mathematically impossible. More with less when it comes to change. And she said this, which I thought was brave and fierce in her conversation. She said, I think we all deserve the right to coast for a little bit. And she said, even a tree knows when to go dormant and has seasons. And she said, "And we have to be smarter than trees." And I said, "I don't know. Sometimes are we?" And we had a good chuckle about it. But I think that that's the intention, is maybe people are just change exhausted when it comes to that. We're not having the right conversations. We're not talking about it right. We're not setting up clear expectations and what success looks like. And we're not giving feedback and course correcting when we need to course correct. We say at Fierce, our lives succeed and fail gradually, then suddenly, one conversation at a time. It's one of our transformational ideas that we teach. And when we don't pay attention to our graduallys, we arrive at these undesired suddenlies. And we're like, how did we get here? Well, we miss conversations, or we sent out an email and people didn't read it, and people are change exhausted. It could be a multitude of things. But by not having the conversation, or by not having a really good and fierce conversation, the best conversation that you can have with what you have and where you have it, what are we doing? We're believing that destiny and fate and goodwill is going to happen. I believe that those all happen, but you have to have the courage and intention and persistency to say, we're all on the same page. And Nikki, I fully agree with this. This might ruffle some of our listeners' feathers, and that's okay. I don't think you have to agree with every change initiative in an organization. You know, I people are like, what do you mean you don't agree? Well, I don't agree. You paid me as a subject matter expertise to come in here. We're conversing about this. And then people will say, well, how can you be a part of it? Well, because I'm a professional and I understand what the assignment is. Just because I don't agree with you doesn't mean that I can't execute a task in a very professional, meaningful, phenomenal way. We have skills and preferences. Maybe it goes against a preference of mine, but my skill set says go with it, move with it. And I think that we look for people to be in 100% agreement all of the time, and it never happens.
Mm. I am a huge fan of debating. And I like healthy debating. I had a idea for People Forward Network to have a quarterly event on different topics around leading people forward in all areas of our lives. And let's learn how to have a healthy debate. They are one of the best ways that you can learn yourself. Learn from others in that debate. Unfortunately, you see too many debates on the television that are you just they're not healthy. And should be able to speak up and, share why my come from when I was 12 years old. Here's my story and here's what I found and this is why I don't see it that way. And I don't know your story from when you're 12 until I talk to you.
Exactly. So that's all context. And we speak about that in Fierce. One of the things that you just talked about was debating. We have four objectives in Fierce Conversations. We talk about interrogating reality. We don't go in with a sword and shield. We go in with a flashlight and a magnification glass to interrogate reality and to see things from a different perspective. With interrogation of reality, I learn what you're talking about. I can see what you shared with me, and it provokes my learning. When we provoke learning and we interrogate reality, we also have a third objective that we say that we can tackle our toughest challenges. But then what's beautifully taken from that is what I also want to share here today is that when we are doing that, we're enriching our relationships. And so when we enrich our relationships, we're building an enriched culture of interrogating reality, but we're not doing it. Fierce conversations to some people might sound like it's beating people up, but it's really about being fierce, like your fierce best friend. When I think of my fierce best friend, that's the person that would come alongside the road at 3 a.m. and change my tire with me after I just woke him up out of bed, right? That fierceness. So it's people who it's honest. It's having the tough conversations with somebody, but doing it out of respect and honor and erring on the side of grace. It's not about throwing grenades because when you get a grenade thrown at you, you typically throw a couple back. And then there's just banter. That's not healthy, fierce conversations. We're talking about respect and honor. And I think that as we meet with our customers, our employees, our leaders, C-suite down to individual contributors, we we facilitate and instruct real life situations for them to understand and to see actionable items immediately, the value, the features, and the benefits of fierce conversations. But we're intentionally working with them to drive a movement, and that movement also drives the culture. It takes a little bit. You don't just boil the ocean immediately. And that's why we say gradually, then suddenly.
There's so much coming at us. It's so tempting to just start checking the box. I don't like to check the box because you can easily with AI nowadays, whatever you're using, just easily just send whatever email, take your Gemini notes, whip it in there, not even read it, right? It's easy to do that. And so many of us are wearing so many hats. We've always in the professional world. I remember my mom, benefits brokerage executive, deep relationships. That's a very complex world, right? And oh, I'm wearing so many hats because this person's gone. And now we're tempted to say, "Oh, we can do more, more, more with, this one person and so much coming at us." And I think with you know, all the apps, all the DMs, all the inboxes, the whatever, it's so important to constantly remember that as a leader, as anyone with doing a meaningful thing, buy-in. It's the buy-in. And you talked about with them, what's in it for me? You talked about having powerful conversations or having conversations, period. Anything else before we go into accountability and execution that you want to share on gaining buy-in individually or as a team?
Yeah, I think that it's important to what you just shared is that people will see things as just a technical change. So we'll check the box and say, we're going to implement this. We're throwing this change in. It's we're not asking you. This is we're telling you. The difference between that and the buy-in for somebody is that it's being done to them. It's not being done with them. It doesn't feel like I'm a part of it. Where do I get to be a part of it? And that really is that with them, but a lot of times people think that people can just move very quickly into some of these big change initiatives that you have. And I think that we go in with the technical application, we check the box, we've implemented it. But I think that we forget about the adaptive piece to the individual who's having to literally live and walk through it. So remember, I said to you, people don't fear change, they fear loss or they don't understand it. And when they don't understand it, there's not clarity around it. They think, God, all you're doing is putting more on my plate, not taking anything away from me. I'm not getting anything more for this. I think just having those really clear conversations with them about the adaptation, there's going to be moments. I think when leaders have to be the porters and the conductor of the train. We've got to be checking in with people, seeing whether they're adhering to what we're giving them or course correcting in our conversation. But I think it's just staying the course, making sure that you're answering questions as clearly as you can with your people, being transparent, being fierce, but know that people go through an adaptation phase. And a lot of times when it's big and there's fear of loss, they'll go through shock and denial. We've all seen kind of that S curve kind of place before people go over to adoption. But what's so important, I want people to really hear this on in our time together. There sets in your group of individuals what's known as the movable middle. And the movable middle are the people that aren't 100% bought in, but they're not 100% bought out. You got your people who are early adopters. You got 20 or 30% that are saying, let's go. Every time you say change, they're just ready to go with you. We love those folks, right? And then you got the people who are back there that are like, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to change at all. And they're quiet back in the background. And you got these other people that are in this movable middle, which represents 50 to 60% sometimes of your population. They just want to understand it. So are you doing it with them or are you doing it to them? Those are so different experiences. And where do they see themselves as part of it? I want to have tangibles and intangibles of my job. Tangibles are my paycheck and all that stuff, but I also want to have intangibles. And those intangibles are pride and passion and joy in the work that I do. And I think that when we can embrace that as part of our change initiative, that people can be a part of things, and you're going to tell them things, it's going to be messy. It's going to be hard. This isn't going to be easy, but we know that we've got the right people here because we hired you for that subject matter expertise and skills. We're going to make it through it. And as a leader, I'm going to guide you. I want you to also help me. We're going to check in on each other in one-on-ones, in team meetings, and in performance, whatever it is. But to ignore it, that which goes unspoken and undealt with normally comes back to haunt us as fate. And that includes change initiatives as well.
Regent rocks, right, you guys? Like, he's just awesome. Okay, so Regent, now we're gonna talk about leading accountability and execution.
Yeah, let's do.
You shared something with me on our prep call for this recording. Teams drifting when expectations are unclear and that this is happening more frequently now. You earlier were talking about clarity and how important that is, but drifting, right? Because I think some of that is assumptions that we think, oh, people know what they're doing and the bot can guide them or whatever. But you were saying something about this, and I was like, we got to come back to this. Teams drifting when expectations are unclear, and this happening much more frequently or more frequent than ever now.
Yeah. Um, so many times I here's where I think people really want to be helpful. I think people really want to do the best. And when these change initiatives are given, you'll have high performers that step up to the plate. They're trying to figure it out. So they use AI to help them figure it out. Maybe they didn't get clear expectations from leadership. We've not clearly communicated. Remember, I said people get scared. there's an accountability. They're like, God, if a bot is this smart, could a bot be taking my job? So we'll have people that will go in and research and do things, and they may be going in a direction that you don't even want them to go. So that's kind of it. That's drifting, drifting away from the expectations, drifting away from really what you want. But we're not validating. We're not going back in and checking in with people, and then we have tons of information that can be put together from AI. Think about the crazy effective AI. You can literally build agents and prompts in AI that create information, send it out to folks. You can easily get taken off of target for your main initiative that you have and drifted down in other areas. So while we sometimes think that AI is very powerful and it's helping us be mindful of things that are going on around us, I also think that we're producing so much from it that we get mind full and we start drifting. Sure, it's great when it unveils things that you didn't think about, but is it also creating barriers because people are taking it in different directions than you wanted to have in clarity? And it's just seconds, seconds. It's not, hey, have this conversation around this. Hey, I've got an idea that I want to bring to you. This is what I want to have a conversation with you, Nikki, about this and this change that we're going through. I can have the conversation with AI. AI can give me data that I put in and it'll critique me and say, yeah, you did a great job. And if you don't ask it if you're not doing a great job, it'll tell you that you do something great. And then we send that information on without validating or letting anybody else know. So it can drift us away unintentionally from what our key goal is, what our overarching goal is very, very quickly if we're not intentional about that. And that's what I was talking about accountability. Who's accountable for that? Who is the decision maker that's in there? And are we setting those expectations? And are we watching what our people are doing within that realm and checking in regularly to make sure that you are on point? Influence can happen very, very quickly from an AI bot to individuals, to teams, to departments, to organizations. And sometimes that influence isn't what we want or the right information.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. AI as a tool, not a replacement. This is a really important topic. What should we never outsource to AI?
Oh gosh. For me, that deep connection of deeper facilitation, if you're speaking about something that I love passionately from my heart that we shouldn't out give over, is how do you have a bot talking about fierce conversations? I think that there can be a piece of it there, that you do from an intro, but I want to talk with real people. I want to know somebody has a heart and a gut and a soul, and I wanna know that people can feel. I think that artificial intelligence, they're working on some of those things, and I had some things that were shown to me by a friend that's a developer in artificial intelligence, and it's interesting of how they're building emotion and conversation into it. Where even people where they have artificial intelligence that will stutter like I do on a natural occurrence, and you're like, "Wow, that sounds so real." But there is this place where human should be and AI should separate. Can I speak to a therapist that's not a bot? And I don't necessarily know if I want my doctor to be, an AI bot. I get great things on AI of how to, clear up a sinus infection, but I don't want it telling me what's wrong with me. I want
Oh
to
my
talk to a
gosh,
doctor.
yeah.
So I say things like that. A doctor, facilitation, places where you wanna talk to a human. I got I got on a call the other day, and I was on one of those donut loops on my Visa card, and I swear to you, I talked for 30 minutes to a bot. The entire time that I was trying to talk to a human, I was like, "Human, human, I just wanna talk to a human." So there's moments where I think that we just wanna speak with somebody who understands us and gets us and is not giving a pre-recorded message that's robotic. And I think that's it. Robotic. I want human, not robotic.
Well, I was gonna tell you, and you started to go down this. I'm like, yes, my story about I'm looking for a new financial advisor for my husband and I. the guy we were working with, he kind of went in a little bit of a different direction and closed the practice, and he's still in finance. But anyway, so we're looking for anyone, and I found this, world renowned, someone that I was like, this would be so exciting to explore with this gentleman. And the entry level program all through GPT is the only way that you do your financial advising. You never meet with someone. And I was like, yeah, it's just a little too far, right? Like, I'm like, hey, but just this recent, grand purchase or something we're planning from in a few years. I'm like, I just sorry, but I don't feel comfortable to outsource that. And, are there companies out there that it's like, trying to check the box with being a manager and they've created some kind of a GPT or chatbot to be, answering the questions and no longer the one-on-ones or whatever. It's just like don't replace that human connection. Regent, our time is flying by. We are coming to a close here. Before we go, I want you to tell everyone a little bit more about Fierce. I have the website up here. So it's fierceinc.com. There are so many resources, books, training programs. I mean, there's so much. So thank you for all that you all give.
My pleasure.
Amazing. And we want people to go and connect with you on LinkedIn. But I
Yes.
wanted you to just give a little insight. You had mentioned the book that you popped up in the screen a couple minutes ago. Just give a little bit of insight on Fierce as an organization and also this new exciting program, Fierce Pulse Governance.
Yeah, thank you so much. So we have been in business for 25 years. It is founded and owned by Susan Scott. So we have leadership. She's still active within our organization. And so we've got over 2.5 million learners. We're over 6 continents. We've got 4 critically acclaimed books that are out. And I love the fact that 3 out of 5 Fortune companies are Fierce trained. We work with large healthcare organizations. We work with airlines. We work with consulting firms and businesses, human capital management. So we provide leadership trained classes for all levels, C suite, all the way down to individual contributors on how to really have great conversations, everything from foundational conversations to feedback conversations, confrontations, influence, how to have really good team conversations, delegations, resilience, those different things. Go on our website and check out what we have. It's such an honor to work with them. I've been working with Fierce for 17 years. I found Fierce when I worked with a large human capital management company, and we brought Fierce on and we onboarded all of our associates through Fierce Foundations, and they were able to take the class. So they spoke Fierce as a language, and it really was a wonderful cultural movement inside of our organization. I still talk to many people from that organization. I'm now working at Fierce Conversations, but I still speak with them and they see me on LinkedIn and they're like, I remember that. And they quote things from Fierce and this is such a great class. So it's a really good sticky learning. And I encourage you to come out and take a look at our website. Now, what you talked about Fierce Pulse governance, man, as we talked about AI here today, and we said that AI was a little scary, we should be scared around it. We should know that there are things that can take place. And I'm not trying to put in crazy fear into people, but you should understand that it can be scary. You watch the news and you see how it can jump over firewalls. Literally, an AI bot jumped over its own firewall out, sent a little bit of a scathing email to the developer and said, "Don't do that. Don't put me in a box again." And then what was interesting is on the news and even further as I read into it, it sounded like that the AI was almost going to blackmail them because they came back with, like I said, a little bit of skating. They didn't say what it said actually, but I was like, how interesting. And we've heard where AI comes in and it picks things up from you, information, and it has tried to feel like there's blackmailing going on or intimidation. We also know that AI is not always correct. And one of the things that when we get into to places of agentics AI is agentics AI will start acting on your behalf. It's that smart. And there's AIs that are coming out that are even more powerful than that. What's interesting is what if I worked with you in human capital management and we were in an HR company and Nikki, you were late. You were late a couple of times for work. So I wanted to send you an email and I put this email. I said, "Hey, AI, help me write this email to Nikki so Nikki doesn't show up tardy anymore." And so AI puts it all together, but Agentix AR starts acting on my behalf if it's programmed to do so. And it says, Nikki has broke a policy and procedure inside of human resources in the workbook that we have, and AI knows that. So it starts taking and starts doing things for me. So instead of me just sending an email to you, it's now created a human resource file for you. It's logged it into human resources file, the document. You were tardy and late. It also sent out our human resource HRBP an email. And it's also put you on a termination notice for whatever reason, because it just took this on, and then it's created in our calendar a calendar meeting for you. So it's went out and done these things on our behalf. A lot of that, like, I can cancel a meeting, but when a human resource file has been created inside of a database or a system that you didn't want to have created, even if you delete it, the information is there. And sometimes you can't delete it. So when we start thinking about Agentix AI, that's one thing. But if you think about the depth of the capability of what Agentix AI could do and how quickly it could create problems for you, sending out emails to customers, terminating things, terminating employees, terminating an employee relationship or a customer relationship with you, what we have created is 25 years of information in Fierce. We have a product called Fierce Governance, and Fierce Governance lays on top of programs that have AI in it, and it's the watchdog, if you will. So what it does is we can turn on how high or how low the watchdog is really for it to alert you. Regent, are you sure that you want this to create a file and a human resource file for Nikki and create this calendar to meet with her, and also create an email to the CHRO or to the HRBP, your human resource business partner, so that they're seeing this? Then I'm like, no, no, and no. I only want this going out here. But without that pulse governance, it could go out there and create it. And do you see the craziness and pandemonium when we don't? That's the thing. AI is not being governed right now. And that's really scary for many, many people, especially larger organizations with confidential information and things that are at risk for them.
Oh, you know, I could talk with you for so much longer. I so enjoy you. I have never had the privilege yet of seeing you as a keynote speaker, but I feel like with all of our conversations, we got to be in real life together in Madison, and then we've done some virtual conversations together. And every time you're just so lively, so passionate. And I just want to give a plug for our Regent Cornell keynote speaking, all the programs at Fierce. We met in a different kind of professional conversation before, and I'm like, man, Regent, you are in your sweet spot. I am excited and learning about Fierce. My team at People Forward Network, we've all been looking at the different resources. I highly recommend that those that are listening, please look up the website and please go connect with my friend
Please
Regent
do,
Cornell.
yeah.
Good. So, yeah, we will see you next time, you guys. Thanks a lot. Bye, Regent.
My pleasure. Have a great day. Thank you.
We just left the world a little bit better. Now, go do something with it.